Skinwalkers, some of the most feared creatures in folklore. Whether they are real or not is for you to decide. So let's jump in to these allegedly true Skinwalker stories. Number 1. Anybody that has been on a Navajo reservation has either probably heard of some creepy things or have experienced pretty creepy things, namely skinwalkers. I have only seen one. Here is my story. I come from a small town in northern Arizona that's sandwiched between the Paiute Reservation of the north and the US's largest Navajo reservation to the south. My high school, being so small, always had to travel south about 5 to 10 hours one way to play another high school in any sport. This means that we traveled a lot of Navajo reservations, and we also usually stayed at hotels when we would head out to play and come home in the morning. But this trip was a little bit different. I remember the basketball coach saying that the school didn't have enough money to put up the teams in a hotel that trip, so we were going to be on the road for a total of 12 hours. I was the only male senior to play basketball that season. We had just got done playing our game and headed home on our big bus, Big Blue. We were headed out, and it wasn't long, about 2 hours of driving, before we had entered the reservation. By this time, everyone was asleep, with it being about 2 in the morning. When we had crossed the reservation border, I noticed that the bus driver had sped up and now was going about 85 miles per hour. I thought this was a little weird, because he never exceeded the speed limit, at least not in my high school career. For some reason, I couldn't fall asleep like the rest of my teammates. I just sat at the back of the bus, staring out across the desolate desert landscape that was lit up by the full moon. As I looked out, I could see a figure running towards the bus at an angle of pursuit, and keeping up with the bus at 85 miles per hour. As the figure got closer, I saw that it was a humanoid form. As a matter of fact, it looked exactly like a human, only that the face was painted half black and half white, with glowing eyes. Glowing eyes like a rabbit's eye reflecting light from a spotlight. I immediately thought, holy crap, it's a skinwalker. The skinwalker ran up to the edge of the road and just kept up pace with the bus, hurdling sagebrush and rocks while staring at me. After I made eye contact with the thing, I could not look away. It was as if something was holding my head and eyes in place. The skinwalker just smiled at me, this inhuman smile that went ear to ear, showing crooked yellow pointed teeth. I felt like I was going to throw up, and I was panicking through the whole ordeal. The skinwalker started to crumple down on all fours, still keeping up with the bus. I could see his bones crack to reform. Hair started appearing all over the skinwalker's body, and in about 3 seconds was now a coyote, and it ran off back into the desert out of view. As soon as it was gone, I ran to the onboard bathroom and puked a mixture of food and blood. I didn't want to tell anyone for fear they would think I was crazy. I confided in my Navajo friend. She told me that I needed to see the chief, who also happened to be a friend of mine, and get a blessing. I saw him the next school day in the parking lot. He just came up to me and mumbled something in Navajo while waving a feathered scepter-like thing, turned around, got in his truck and drove away. To this day, I haven't seen another skinwalker. It might be due to the fact I moved away from the town and reservation. And if I do go to the south, I go around, way around. Number 2. My father owns a small delivery service that operates out of Farmington, New Mexico. We mostly deliver small packages out to the middle of nowhere that are too much hassle for larger delivery companies to bother with. My dad is the only employee, and we have a few pickup trucks and a trailer. One day we get a delivery out to Window Rock, Arizona, on the Navajo reservation about 2 hours from Farmington. my dad gets the call for the job while he is chilling with his Navajo friend, Travis, and his girlfriend. Travis mentions how he's got family in Window Rock that he hasn't seen in ages and suggests they go with him. I was about 6 or 7 at the time, and it was the summertime, so Dad decides we'll go down together. He can do his delivery real quick, then while Travis sees his family, we can go check out the Window Rock, which is a big rock face with a large hole in it that goes to the other side. Pretty cool. We had to convoy in separate trucks, since my dad was loaded down with his freight. We decided to bring along some walkie-talkies so we could communicate to one another. We spend our time in Window Rock. Everything is generally uneventful, and we start heading back home along the old highway with my dad and I in front, and Travis and his girlfriend in their truck behind us. I honestly don't remember most of the Window Rock trip, but this next part, I can never forget. We're somewhere on the highway between Window Rock and Gallup, New Mexico. It had just rained earlier in the day, and the road was kind of slick, so we were taking it pretty slow. On the left of the highway, there is nothing but sandstone cliffs, and on the right, there is a huge field, separated from the road by a small barbed wire fence. We crest the top of the hill, and down at the bottom of the hill, we see what appears to be a very large dog, sitting back on its haunches in the middle of the road, facing the cliffs. My dad calls over the radio. "Hey Trav, do you see that big-ass dog?" Travis starts yelling back over the radio. "That is not a dog. Speed up right now and hit it." He almost sounds hysterical. He just keeps screaming. "Hit it. JJ, you have to hit it. Please. Please hit that thing right now." So my dad starts to speed up. And as we get a bit closer, I can begin to see it a little more clearly. It's covered in brown, wiry, matted hair that appears to have dried blood all over it. It's still facing the cliffs, but the moment our headlights hit it, it turns and looks at us, and it has a face. I don't know how else to describe it, other than a mix between a bear's and a human's face. It looked twisted and distorted, and almost in pain. As we get closer to this thing, we start to realize it's actually huge. Though it was still sitting on its haunches, it is about shoulder height with the hood of the truck. We get literally inches from hitting it, when it lets out this scream that sounds like someone screaming as their lungs fill with water, and it leaps backwards towards the field, landing just on our side of the barbed wire fence. Then with another leap, it was gone from sight. Travis comes over the radio again. "Jesus Christ. Keep driving. We have to get out of here. We have to go faster." He kept repeating that last part. We have to get out of here. We have to go faster. Pretty soon we are speeding like crazy, and just as we start to come near the outskirts of Gallup, we get pulled over. Travis pulls his truck over with us. Naturally, this makes the cop, a Navajo man himself, very on edge, and immediately asks why Travis felt the need to pull over as well. Travis says, "We just saw a Skinwalker a few miles back, and it's been following us." The officer immediately turns white, stammers something about a verbal warning, gets in his car and takes off. We do the same. We didn't see anything else that night, but when we got home, Travis refused to let us leave without taking some kind of Navajo totem thing that was supposed to keep it away. Number 3. This all happened about 5 years ago. One night, a few of my friends decided after a night of hanging out that we'd go on an adventure at about 3 a.m. We took a ride about 50 miles to this old Spanish ruin in New Mexico that was once the seat of the Inquisition. I can't for the life of me remember what the place is called. So we jumped the front gate to the place and started exploring. One of my friends brought a flute with him, and he started playing it, and about 30 seconds into his mediocre playing, something started screaming really, really loud. It was going from wall to wall really quick, screaming the most blood-curdling scream you've ever imagined. We noped the hell out of there. One of my friends pissed his pants, and we drove for a few hours to Bandelier National Monument, where we planned to camp out the rest of the weekend. We got to Bandelier at probably like 6 or 7 a.m. and set up our camp. After a few hours of just talking about what the hell happened at the ruins, I went to take a pee, probably only like 300 feet from our camp. This is where everything starts to get a little fuzzy. I remember seeing 2 dust devils coming my way, and when I turned around again, 2 of my friends were there, and they were motioning me to follow them. I couldn't help but follow them, like I was being pulled behind them in shackles. I followed them for what seemed like 10 or 15 minutes, and then snapped out of it. These weren't my friends. They had bright red hair, with my friends' faces and cat's eyes. Both of my friends were brunette. I stopped walking and they looked at me with probably the most terrifying gaze I've ever seen. Monsters in movies are nothing compared to this. I turned around and ran as fast as I could, back the way I came from. After like 5 minutes of full sprint, I got back to that rock that I peed at and found our camp. Everyone was there, still sitting around talking, and didn't even notice that I was gone. I told them what happened with the lookalike Skinwalkers, and we packed up everything and left probably within like 10 minutes and got the hell back to Albuquerque. Number 4. I was told this story once. Now my dad isn't a liar, so I know this story is true. So this was the very early 80s, and my sister, who lived in Toronto, came down to visit our parents for the weekend. She was staying at a friend's house, who loaned her a car so she could come out. After her visit, she left a little after 9 p.m. She got maybe 7 or 8 miles away before the car broke down. Thankfully, she broke down in front of a friend of the family's house. They let her in to call Dad, and Dad came to get her. The family said she could leave the car in their driveway for the night, and my sister decided to stay at my parents' house. It was now a little after 10 p.m. and pitch black while my sister and Dad are driving back to the house, and they pass through a heavily wooded area. Out of nowhere, they hear this incredibly loud inhuman scream that was heard over the engine, them talking, and the radio. When suddenly, a 6-foot-tall coyote walking on 2 legs, with a black and white striped tail, appeared on the side of the road and proceeded to walk in front of the car. As soon as it passed, that same scream played again, only 10 times louder. Dad slammed on the accelerator and they got the hell out of there. It was never seen again. Maybe I should start crossing destinations off my list of places to go and see. Anyway, if you like what you heard, consider subscribing so you never miss a creepy story.